Have you ever felt like you are a spectator in your own life? You wake up with the best intentions, promising yourself that today will be the day you finally tackle that project, hit the gym, or start that business. But then, the invisible weight of procrastination settles in. The hours slip through your fingers like sand, consumed by mindless scrolling, trivial tasks, and the paralyzing voice in your head that says, "I'll do it later." This isn't just a lack of discipline. It's a silent war being fought within your mind, a war you are currently losing. What if I told you that the secret to reclaiming your time isn't found in a new productivity app or a complex scheduling system, but in the lethal efficiency of a 17th century warrior? Welcome to the Thinking Pillow. Today, we will navigate through the end of procrastination using the timeless wisdom of Miyamoto Musashi. We live in an age of infinite distraction. Our focus is being auctioned off to the highest bidder, leaving us with a mental fog that makes even the simplest tasks feel like climbing a mountain. We wait for the perfect moment to start. But the truth is, perfection is a ghost. While you wait for the stars to align, life is passing you by. Musashi, a man who survived over 60 duels to the death, knew that in the heat of battle, hesitation is the same as defeat. If you pause to overthink your strike, you are already dead. In our modern world, we aren't facing blades, but we are facing the death of our potential. Every time you choose the comfort of the couch over the challenge of your goals, a small part of your future self withers away. The problem isn't that you are lazy. The problem is that you have forgotten how to move with intent. You have allowed your mind to become cluttered with maybe and tomorrow. But what if you could simplify your entire existence into a single, decisive minute? Imagine a life where the gap between thinking and doing completely disappears. A life where you are no longer a slave to your moods, but the master of your actions. To understand how to get there, we must first examine the deceptive trap of the long-term mindset that is currently sabotaging your every move. The trap begins with the way we perceive big goals. We look at the mountain and feel exhausted before we've even taken the first step. We think we need a massive burst of motivation to start, so we wait for a feeling that never comes. This is the motivation myth. We've been told that we need to feel inspired to act, but the reality is exactly the opposite. Action creates inspiration. When you look at your to-do list and feel that familiar pang of anxiety, your brain is trying to protect you from perceived discomfort. It views your work as a threat to your current state of ease. So, it offers you a distraction, a quick dopamine hit from your phone to soothe that anxiety. You tell yourself you'll just check one notification, and an hour later, you're deeper in the hole than when you started. Musashi taught that the warrior's path is one of constant readiness. There is no distinction between your training and your life. If you only practice when you feel like it, you will never be a master. The same applies to your productivity. If you only work when you are in the zone, you are leaving your success up to chance. We have become experts at planning to do work. Instead of actually doing it, we buy the journals, we set the timers, and we organize the desk, all as a way to avoid the actual work itself. This is productive procrastination, the most dangerous kind, because it feels like progress. But Musashi's philosophy of the no design strike suggests that the most effective action is the one taken without unnecessary preamble, no fluff, no hesitation, just the execution of the task. The reason you are stuck is that you have made your goals too heavy to carry. You are trying to win the entire war in a single day. Instead of simply winning the current moment, we need to strip away the complexity and return to the fundamental truth of the blade. It either cuts or it doesn't. And right now, your resolve is dull. To sharpen it, we have to look at how we've been conditioned to fear the very thing that can set us free, the immediate start. Consider the cost of your hesitation. Every hour you spend procrastinating is an hour of mental energy spent on guilt. When you avoid a task, it doesn't just go away. It sits in the back of your mind, a nagging weight that drains your battery even while you're trying to relax. You aren't actually enjoying your rest because the ghost of the uncompleted work is haunting you. This creates a cycle of chronic stress that leaves you too tired to start. When you finally do decide to move, it's a self-perpetuating loop of failure. Musashi emphasized the importance of knowing the way in all things. This means understanding the mechanics of your own behavior. If you know that your mind will try to trick you into stopping, you can prepare for that resistance. The world's greatest samurai didn't win his duels because he was faster or stronger than everyone else. He won because he was more mentally prepared to engage. He didn't waste energy on fear or doubt because those emotions had no place in the void. In our context, the void is that state of pure action where the self-criticism stops. Most people spend 90% of their energy fighting themselves before the work even begins. They argue with their alarm clock. They debate whether they should go to the gym. They negotiate with their own ambitions. By the time they actually sit down to work, they are already exhausted from the internal debate. Musashi's approach was different. Do nothing which is of no use. Hesitation is of no use. Overthinking is of no use. If a task needs to be done, the only logical response is to do it. But how do we bridge that gap? How do we stop being the person who talks and start being the person who executes? The answer lies in the radical simplicity of the 1-minute rule, a concept that seems almost too small to be effective. Yet it is the very thing that can shatter the chains of your procrastination forever. The 1-minute rule is your no design strike against the monster of procrastination. It is the tactical application of Musashi's principle. Under no circumstances should you be flurried. The rule is simple. If something takes less than a minute, do it now. But the psychological depth goes much further. For larger tasks, the rule becomes Commit to just 1 minute of focused action. That's it. Anyone can endure anything for 60 seconds. The genius of this approach is that it bypasses your brain's fear response. When you tell your brain you're going to work for 4 hours on a difficult project, the amygdala screams, "Danger!" and triggers the urge to flee. But when you tell your brain, "I'm just going to open the document and write for 1 minute," the resistance is lowered. This is the entry point strategy. Musashi knew that in a fight, the most important moment is the initial engagement, the collision of the blades. Once the battle has started, momentum takes over. Procrastination is nothing more than the fear of the start. By committing to a single minute, you are tricking your ego into letting go of the need for perfection. You aren't trying to write a masterpiece in that minute. You are just trying to move the blade. What you'll find is that once the minute is up, the Zeigarnik effect kicks in. Your brain actually wants to finish what it has started. The hardest part wasn't the work itself. It was the transition from stillness to motion. Musashi lived by the idea of becoming the enemy. In this case, your enemy is the comfort of your current state. By moving suddenly and without warning, you catch your own laziness off guard. You don't give it time to form an argument. You don't give it time to remind you of how tired you feel. You simply strike. But to make this work, you must adopt the warrior's gaze, a way of looking at your time that is completely different from the way the average person views their day. To the average person, a minute is nothing. It's the time it takes to wait for the microwave or glance at a headline. But to the world's greatest samurai, a minute is an eternity. It is the difference between life and death. If you don't value the small increments of your time, you will never master the large ones. We often say, "It's only 5 minutes," or "I'll start at the top of the hour," as if time only counts when it's in a neat 30-minute block. This is a profound misunderstanding of reality. Life is only ever experienced in the now. Musashi's philosophy of the double spirit suggests that you must have a mind that is both broad and narrow. Broad enough to see the big picture of your goals, but narrow enough to focus intensely on the micro action in front of you. When you ignore the 1-minute tasks, the unmade bed, the unanswered email, the dirty dish, you are training yourself to be a person who tolerates incompleteness. You are slowly building a character of delay. Each small thing you put off adds a brick to the wall of your procrastination. Eventually, that wall becomes too high to climb. By applying the 1-minute rule, you are tearing that wall down. Brick by brick, you are sending a message to your subconscious. I am a person of action. This builds a momentum that Musashi called the idea flow of the spirit. Once this flow begins, your productivity becomes effortless. You aren't forcing yourself to work anymore. You are simply following the path of the strike. The question is no longer if you will do the work, but how well you will do it. However, to truly embody this, you must change your internal identity. You cannot think like a procrastinator and act like a samurai. You must dive deeper into the mind of Musashi to understand how he viewed the relationship between the body and the intent. To understand how to defeat procrastination, you must first understand the mind of the man who never hesitated. Miyamoto Musashi was not just a swordsman. He was a strategist of the soul. His masterpiece, The Book of Five Rings, wasn't written for historians. It was written for anyone who wants to master the art of living. Musashi's perspective on time and action was forged in the fires of life or death combat. For him, there was no such thing as free time. There was only time spent sharpening the mind, or time spent executing the intent. He believed that a warrior must have a detached mind, one that is not clouded by emotion, fear, or the desire for comfort. When you procrastinate, you are too attached to your current state of ease. You are valuing a momentary feeling over a permanent reality. Musashi would see this as a fatal flaw in your strategy. In the way of the sword, there is a concept called sen, or initiative. Musashi categorized initiative into 3 levels, but the most important for us is ken no sen, the initiative of the attack. This is the act of striking before the enemy has even thought of striking you. In your life, your enemy is the impulse to delay. If you wait until you feel ready, you have already lost the initiative. The enemy has already occupied the territory of your mind. Musashi taught that you must preempt your own resistance. You don't wait for the battle to come to you. You bring the battle to the task. This requires a shift from a reactive mindset to a proactive one. Most people react to their day. They react to emails. They react to their moods. They react to their fatigue. A strategist, however, dictates the terms of the engagement. By using the 1-minute rule, you are taking the initiative. You are striking the task before your brain has the chance to mount a defense. This isn't just a productivity hack. It is a fundamental realignment of your spirit. You are training yourself to be the predator, not the prey, of your own schedule. Musashi often spoke of the water spirit. Water is fluid. It adapts to the shape of its container, yet it has the power to carve through stone. Your approach to work should be the same. Procrastination often stems from rigidity. We think things must be a certain way before we can start. We think we need a quiet room, a specific coffee, or a clear head. This is stagnant water. Musashi argued that both in fighting and in everyday life, you should be determined, though calm. If you are too tense about your goals, you will freeze. If you are too relaxed, you will drift. The water spirit is the middle path of constant, effortless flow. When you apply the 1-minute rule, you are essentially leaking into the task. You aren't trying to smash through the dam. You are finding the smallest crack and letting the water through. Once that first drop passes, the rest will follow. This is the beauty of Musashi's no design strike. It is a movement that happens because it is the most natural thing to occur In that moment, when you see a piece of paper on the floor, you don't plan to pick it up. You simply pick it up. That is the water spirit in action. Procrastination is the act of building artificial dams in your mind. You tell yourself that the task is hard or long, and suddenly the water stops flowing. But in reality, no task is hard in the present second. Typing one sentence is not hard. Lifting one weight is not hard. Making one phone call is not hard. The difficulty is a projection of the future, not a reality of the now. Musashi's perspective forces you to collapse the future into the present. He would tell you to stop looking at the end of the war and start looking at the tip of your sword. If you can master the next 60 seconds, the hours will take care of themselves. Another pillar of Musashi's wisdom is the idea of perception and sight. Made a sharp distinction between the two. Sight is merely looking at the surface of things, seeing the mountain of work and feeling overwhelmed. Perception is seeing the essence, recognizing that the work is just a series of small, manageable movements. When you look at a project and feel paralyzed, you are using sight. You are seeing the 50-page report. When you use perception, you see that the report is just a collection of paragraphs, and a paragraph is just a collection of sentences. Perception allows you to find the weak point in the task. Every massive goal has a vulnerability. The start. If you can perceive the start as a tiny, 1-minute commitment, the task loses its power over you. Musashi said, "In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close, and to take a distanced view of close things." This means looking at your long-term goals as if they were happening right now, giving them urgency, while looking at your current discomfort as if it were far away and insignificant. Most people do the opposite. They see their long-term goals as the distant and someday, while their current desire for a snack or a nap feels close and urgent. This is a distorted view of reality. By adopting the samurai's perception, you flip the script. That 1 minute of work becomes the most important thing in your universe, and the distraction becomes a distant, blurry noise. This mental clarity is what allowed Musashi to face multiple opponents at once without losing his cool. He didn't see a crowd. He saw one opponent at a time, 1 second at a time. The ultimate goal of this mindset is the void. In Musashi's philosophy, the void is not nothingness in a negative sense, but a state of being where there is no conflict between the mind and the body. It is what modern psychologists call flow. When you are in the void, you don't feel like you are working. You are simply being. There is no procrastination in the void because there is no self to argue against the task. The 1-minute rule is the gateway to this state. By lowering the barrier to entry, you allow yourself to slip into the void before your ego realizes what's happening. Your ego is the part of you that wants to protect your image. the part that fears failure, and the part that loves comfort. The ego is the architect of procrastination. Musashi wrote, "Do not let the enemy see your spirit." In your case, do not let your ego see your intent. If you announce to yourself, "I am going to change my life today," and work for 12 hours, your ego will immediately move to block you. It will sabotage you with fatigue and distraction. But if you move with the spirit of the void, quietly, simply, committing only to a minute, the ego stays asleep. You bypass the security system of your own mind. This is the stealth of the strategist. You aren't fighting your laziness. You are making it irrelevant. Musashi's life was a testament to the power of a mind that has removed all internal friction. He didn't need to find motivation because he had eliminated the need for it. He had replaced motivation with way. When you have a way, you don't need a reason to move. You move because that is what you are. But to reach this level of mastery, you must embrace the stance of no stance. Musashi taught that while you should have a preferred way of holding your sword, you must be ready to change it instantly, depending on the situation. Procrastination often comes from our fixed stances. We have a fixed idea of how we should feel before we work, or how the work should look. If the reality doesn't match our stance, we stop. Musashi's no stance means you are ready to work anywhere, at any time, in any mood. You are ready to give that 1 minute of effort, even if you are tired, even if you are sad, even if you are bored. The 1 minute rule is the ultimate no stance tool. It works regardless of your circumstances. It is a universal key that fits every lock. By practicing this, you are developing what Musashi called the unshakable mind, a mind that cannot be moved by the winds of whim. You are becoming someone who is dependable, not just to others, but to yourself. Imagine the self-trust you would have if you knew, with absolute certainty, that whenever you decided to do something, you would actually do it. That is the true power of the samurai mindset. It is the end of the internal civil war. You are no longer a house divided. You are a single point of intent, moving through the world with the precision of a blade. But as we move from perspective into action, we must address the specific demons that will try to stop you from staying on this path. The transition from a procrastinator to a person of action requires more than just a tip. It requires a structural overhaul of your environment and your internal dialogue. Musashi spoke of the way of the vanguard, the idea that you must prepare the ground before the battle begins. If your environment is cluttered, your mind will be cluttered. If your digital world is a minefield of notifications, your focus is doomed before you even pick up your sword. The first deep solution is the clean strike protocol. Before you apply the 1 minute rule, you must eliminate the frictions that make that minute feel difficult. If you want to write, the laptop must be open. If you want to train, the shoes must be by the door. This is called environmental defaulting. You are essentially making the right choice, the easiest choice. Musashi's strategy was always about reducing the distance between the intent and the impact. In his duels, he often won by moving a fraction of a second faster than his opponent expected. You must do the same with your tasks. The deep solution is to view procrastination not as a moral failing, but as a mechanical delay. You are currently operating with too much slack in your system. By tightening the strings, by ensuring your tools are ready and your distractions are buried, you allow the 1-minute rule to flourish. You aren't just trying harder, you are making it so that trying isn't even necessary. You are setting up a domino effect, where the first push, that single minute of effort, inevitably leads to the completion of the task. This is the mastery of the vanguard, winning the battle before the first blow is even struck. The second solution lies in Musashi's concept of crossing at a ford. When a traveler reaches a river, they don't just jump in at the widest point. They look for the ford, the place where the water is shallow and the crossing is safe. In your productivity, the ford is the smallest, most non-threatening version of your task. We often fail because we try to cross the ocean in one go. We tell ourselves, we need to finish the project. This is a mistake in strategy. Musashi would say you are attacking the enemy's strongest point. Instead, you should attack the flank. Don't write the book, just write the next sentence. This is the atomic tasking method. By breaking your massive goal into 1-minute increments, you are finding the shallow water. You are crossing at the ford every single day. This removes the psychological fear of drowning in your work. When the task is small enough, the ego cannot use fear as a weapon against you. You become a master of the micro-win. And here is the secret. Success is nothing more than a long chain of micro-wins. Musashi didn't become a master by dreaming of being the greatest. He became a master by winning every single second of his practice sessions for decades. He focused on the grip, the stance, the breath, the 1-minute details. If you take care of the minutes, the years will take care of themselves. Stop looking for the big break and start looking for the next small win. To sustain this, you must adopt the spirit of the sword in your communication with yourself. Musashi was a man of few words and immense action. Most procrastinators are the opposite. They are people of many words and zero action. They narrate their struggle. They say things like, "I'm so tired today. I'm just not feeling it." Or, "I'll be more productive tomorrow." This internal narration is a form of self-hypnosis. You are literally talking yourself into failure. Musashi's solution is the silence of the warrior. You must stop the narrative. When it's time to move, you don't talk to yourself about it. You don't debate. You don't explain. You simply engage. The 1-minute rule works best when it is silent. Don't tell yourself why you are doing the minute. Just do it. If you start explaining it, your brain will start making counter-arguments. This is the 5-second rule taken to a samurai level. Between the thought and the action, There must be a vacuum, a space where no words exist. In that silence, you find your power. Procrastination lives in the noise of your thoughts. It feeds on your excuses. By cutting off the noise, you starve the beast. Practice non-verbal execution. See the task, feel the impulse to delay, and instead of engaging with that impulse, move your body. The body must lead the mind, not the other way around. As Musashi said, both in fighting and in everyday life, you should be determined though calm. That determination is found in the quiet, steady movement of the 1-minute strike. We must also address the fatigue fallacy. Many people delay because they feel tired. But Musashi understood that there is a difference between physical exhaustion and spirit exhaustion. Most of the time, your brain is lying to you. It is using the sensation of tiredness as a tactical defense to keep you in the safety of the couch. Musashi taught that a warrior must be able to renew his spirit in the middle of a fight. He called this becoming new. When you feel that wave of lethargy, you don't give in to it. You become new by taking one small decisive action. The 1-minute rule is the ultimate tool for becoming new. It is a reset button for your energy. Often, you'll find that you weren't actually tired. You were just bored or uninspired. The act of moving for 60 seconds triggers a physiological shift. Your heart rate increases, your focus sharpens, and the fog lifts. You have broken the spell of the lethargy demon. Musashi's deep solution is to never trust your first feeling. Your first feeling is usually the one that wants to keep you small. Your second feeling, the one that comes after the first minute of work, is the one that holds the truth of your potential. A samurai does not ask his body if it wants to fight. He commands his body to fight. You must become the commander of your own energy. Finally, we must integrate that the law of the long road. Musashi spent years wandering the mountains of Japan, living in harsh conditions to sharpen his resolve. He understood that mastery is a marathon, not a sprint. Procrastination is often caused by short-term thinking. We want the reward now, but we don't want the work now. The deep solution is to fall in love with the process, not the result. If you only value the finished project, the work will always feel like a burden. But if you value the discipline of doing the work, every minute becomes a reward in itself. The 1-minute rule is not just about getting things done. It is about building your discipline muscle. Every time you do a 1-minute task that you didn't want to do, you are leveling up your character. You are becoming a more formidable human being. Musashi said, step by step, walk the 1,000-mile road. He didn't say, run. He said, I'll walk. Walking is sustainable. Walking is disciplined. By committing to these small, daily strikes, you are ensuring that you will stay on the path for the long haul. You are removing the burnout that comes from trying to do too much at once. You are building a life of quiet, unstoppable momentum. But as we reach the final stage of our journey, we must put all of this together into a concrete, tactical blueprint. It is time to move from the deep solutions to the final action plan. Knowledge without action is the greatest waste of human potential. You can listen to the wisdom of Miyamoto Musashi for hours, but if you don't pick up your own sword, you are simply dreaming of a battle you will never win. The final action plan is your strategic deployment of everything we've discussed. It begins with the rule of the first 60. From the moment you wake up, you are in a duel with your own habits. Your goal is to win the first minute of your day without hesitation. Do not negotiate with the alarm. Do not scroll through the lives of others. The second your eyes open, move. This first victory sets the spirit of the day. Musashi believed that the opening of an engagement determines its end. If you start your day in a defensive, reactive state, checking notifications and delaying the start, you will spend the rest of the day trying to recover your footing. Your first tactical objective is to identify your high-leverage minute. We all have that one task we've been avoiding for weeks, the one that sits in our gut like a stone. Your action plan is to apply the 1-minute rule to that specific task today, not tomorrow, not when you have more time, but as soon as this video ends. Commit to 60 seconds of engagement. If you are writing, write 1 sentence. If you are cleaning, pick up 5 items. If you are planning, write 1 bullet point. You aren't trying to finish. You are trying to disturb the stillness. Once the stillness is broken, the resistance loses its power. This is the samurai strike. Sudden, precise, and final. You are proving to yourself that the task is not the master of you. You are the master of the task. The second phase of the action plan is the clean slate protocol. Musashi lived a life of radical simplicity because he knew that complexity is the ally of the enemy. To maintain your 1-minute momentum, you must aggressively simplify your environment. Look at your workspace. Look at your digital desktop. Every unnecessary icon, every piece of clutter is a clog in your mental flow. Spend 1 minute, literally 60 seconds, clearing one specific area. Do this every hour if you have to. This isn't just about being tidy. It's about removing the visual triggers that tell your brain there is too much to do. By maintaining a Zen-like environment, you make the 1-minute rule effortless. When you sit down to work, there should be nothing between you and your intent. Musashi taught that a warrior should have no favorite weapon. In the same way, don't be attached to specific conditions. If your environment isn't perfect, use the 1-minute rule to make it better. If you only have a phone, use it. If you only have a scrap of paper, write on it. The action plan is to stop making excuses for why you can't start and start finding reasons why you can. You are creating a vacuum of action where the only thing that exists is the current movement. This is how you build a life of high retention, not by doing a lot once, but by doing the right things constantly. The third phase is the 1-minute audit. At the end of your day, spend 60 seconds reviewing your victories. We are often our own harshest critics, focusing only on what we didn't do. This creates a failure identity that fuels more procrastination. Musashi emphasized the importance of knowing yourself. By auditing your wins, even the tiny 1-minute ones, you are reinforcing your new action identity. You are training your brain to see yourself as a closer, not a waiter. This audit acts as the after-action report of a soldier. What worked? Where did you hesitate? How can you strike faster tomorrow? This daily reflection turns your life into a continuous feedback loop of improvement. You are no longer drifting through time. You are navigating it with a compass. If you missed a 1-minute window, don't beat yourself up. That is just more useless noise. Simply acknowledge it and resolve to be sharper in the next engagement. Musashi's path was one of perpetual training. He didn't believe in a finished state of mastery. He believed in the constant refinement of the spirit. Your action plan is to view every minute of your life as a practice session. Whether you are washing a dish or signing a contract, do it with the same level of intent. This is the way, in its purest form. A life where the small things are done with great spirit, and the great things are done with simple action. Now, we must address the long-term siege. Productivity is not a one-day event. It is a siege against your own limitations. To win the siege, you must maintain the warrior's rhythm. This means alternating between intense 1-minute strikes and deep, purposeful rest. Most people fail because they try to maintain a constant panic state, which leads to burnout and, eventually, massive procrastination. Musashi's wisdom suggests that, in all things, there is a rhythm. Your action plan is to find your own rhythm of engagement. Use the 1-minute rule to start. Work for a set period, and then use a 1-minute ritual to end the session and rest. This ritual, perhaps a minute of deep breathing or just sitting in silence, tells your brain that a battle is over and it is time to recover. This prevents the mental bleeding, where work stress leaks into your personal life. You are learning to open and close the gates of your focus at will. This level of control is what separates the amateur from the professional. The amateur is at the mercy of their inspiration. The professional uses their rhythm to generate inspiration on command. By sticking to this plan, you are no longer a victim of your moods. You are the architect of your destiny. You are moving with the weight of centuries of wisdom behind every small action you take. As we conclude this journey, remember the words of Miyamoto Musashi. You must, under all circumstances, maintain the warrior's spirit. Procrastination will try to return. It will wait for a day when you are tired, a day when you are discouraged, or a day when you feel like you've done enough. That is the moment when the 1-minute rule is most critical. That is the moment when you prove who you really are. Do not look for a magic pill or a shortcut. The shortcut is the start. The magic pill is the first 60 seconds of effort. The thinking pillow is not just a place for reflection. It is a place for transformation. You now have the philosophy of the greatest samurai and the tactical blueprint of modern psychology. The silent trap has been revealed. The no design strike is in your hands. Now, there is only one thing left to do. As this video ends, the screen will go black. That is your cue. That is your call to arms. Do not click on another video. Do not check your comments. Stand up, find that one task you've been avoiding, and give it exactly 60 seconds of your life. The man you were is dead. The warrior you are becoming is born in the next minute. Go now and walk the 1,000-mile road, one strike at a time. Welcome to the 1%. Welcome to the way.